There are two techniques related to plot writers sometimes employ, and those are flashback and foreshadowing. So I want to talk a little bit about both. A flashback is a device by which a work presents material that occurred prior to the opening scene of the work. So according to Daniel and Saphir, often a flashback is needed to make the present action more understandable to the reader. So remember that I said that short stories focus on one moment in time or one brief period, right? So information that we need to understand this moment in time is sometimes given in a flashback, something that happened before. An author can introduce a flashback in several ways: a dream sequence or a character's memory, for example. Flashbacks are especially important and useful when a story begins in medias res, and this is a term in Latin, and it's translated as in the middle of things. So when a story begins in medias res, it begins in the middle of the action. So for example, Homer's epic, the Iliad, it opens during the last year of the Trojan War and uses flashbacks to tell us how the war began. Remember Tom, who wanted to explore caves rather than attend college? While Tom is in the cave, the story flashes back to tell the reader about a conversation he had with his mother. Foreshadowing is the use of clues to suggest events that will happen later in the story. Writers often use foreshadowing to increase suspense. So suspense is the uncertainty or anxiety a reader feels about what will happen next in the story. Suspense makes the story exciting. It makes the reader want to read more to find out what will happen next. Foreshadowing allows the reader to attempt to guess what will happen next in the story. So some examples of foreshadowing. In Jurassic Park, Dr. Grant has some fun terrorizing a bratty little boy with a raptor claw telling him, "You stare at him, and he just stares right back. And that's when the attack comes, not from the front, but from the side." So he explains to the little boy how velociraptors attack and how they hunt in packs, right? And this foreshadows the actual hunting technique the raptors will use to take down Muldoon later in the movie. Another example, when Ruth Jones' alarm clock woke her at 7 o'clock that morning, she had no idea today would be the longest day of her life. So today being the longest day of her life, that's foreshadowing because it makes me want to know, well, what's going to happen that makes this the longest day, right? She had no idea that this is going to be the longest day, right? So it sort of makes me eager as the reader to know what's going to happen next. Another example might be Fred left the house at 11 o'clock and drove into town. He was meeting his father for lunch at Brown's. Officially, they were just catching up, but they both knew Fred needed money again, and not such a small amount this time either. So this makes me, as a reader, curious to know, what does Fred need the money for? Why is it such a large amount? So that makes me eager to read on to find out.